All right, let's get right into it. We're going to look at a piece of news that, on the surface, seems pretty small. Apple teaming up with a few banks in India. But trust me, behind the simple headline is a huge strategic story about control, about ecosystem building, and really, about the race for the next billion users. So you might have seen a headline about Apple planning to cooperate with India's biggest banks and thought, okay, so what, just another corporate partnership? It's the kind of thing you'd probably just scroll right past. But this is exactly where we need to slow down and look a little closer. You see, whenever Apple makes a move into a country's financial plumbing, it is never, ever just about a simple deal. It's about embedding themselves deep into the very fabric of that economy. So let's unpack what's really going on here. This is not just some simple handshake agreement. This is a foundational piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. And just look at the sheer scale of this. We're not talking about small niche banks. We're talking about the State Bank of India, HDFC, and ICICI Bank. I mean, these are absolute giants. They give Apple a direct line to hundreds of millions of customers. They're plugging directly into the country's mainstream. So let's do a little thought experiment. If you were Tim Cook and your mission was to win the next massive growth market, where would you start? Would you just try to sell more phones? Or would you try to weave your entire platform into the financial bloodstream of the country? Yeah, for Apple, the answer is pretty obvious. And to really get the why behind all of this, you have to understand India itself right now. It is not just another market, it's this incredibly unique technological and economic landscape that is just ripe with opportunity. It's a digital gold rush. Think about it. India is kind of the perfect storm for growth. You've got a massive young population, one of the fastest growing economies on the planet, and this is the key part. It completely leapfrogged traditional banking. Millions of people went straight from cash to mobile payments like UPI and digital wallets. It's a mobile-first financial world, and you better believe Apple knows it. And this brings us to the absolute core of what Apple is today. You know, a lot of people still think of Apple as a hardware company that just sells really nice phones. But that, honestly, is missing the forest for the trees. They're not a device company. They are an ecosystem company. And this is their classic playbook, the one they've perfected over the years. It's this beautiful, powerful loop. The iPhone hardware runs the iOS software, which perfectly integrates services like Apple Pay and the Apple Card. It all just works together so smoothly that leaving becomes really inconvenient and expensive. So how does the same playbook work in India? Well, by partnering with these local banks, Apple can start rolling out the exact same strategies. Sure, it means an easier path for Apple Pay. But the really big deal, it unlocks all new financing options. In a market where price matters a lot, making a $1,000 phone easier to buy with monthly installment plans is a total game changer. It just removes all that friction. Now, let's be clear, Apple isn't walking into an empty field here. Google Pay basically dominates India's digital payment system, UPI, and local players like Paytm are everywhere. So what's Apple's angle? They're not trying to beat Google at its own game. Instead, they're using this financial integration to make their premium devices more accessible, growing their slice of the pie without having to get into a price war. It's a classic, elegant Apple move. Okay, now let's zoom out a bit because this whole finance play connects to an even bigger global strategy for Apple, one that involves manufacturing, supply chains, and a whole lot more. For years now, Apple has been very deliberately diversifying its manufacturing away from its heavy reliance on China. And guess what? India has emerged as a critical new production hub. They are building more and more iPhones right there in the country. This is not a coincidence. It's all part of the master plan. And here is how it all clicks together in this amazing self-reinforcing loop. Step 1, build the phones in India. Step 2, sell those same phones in India. Step 3, create financing to make them way easier to buy. And step 4, integrate payments to make them absolutely essential to daily life. This is that vertical integration, that end-to-end control that Apple is absolutely obsessed with. And ultimately, all of this, every single part of this strategy, it's all pointing towards one massive prize, capturing the next wave of global smartphone users. This is where the future of growth is, and India is right at the epicenter of it all. I mean, the contrast couldn't be more stark. You look at markets like the US or Europe, and they're saturated. Growth is slow, it's incremental. But then you look at India, and the runway is just enormous. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people who will be upgrading their phones over the next few years. Why would you fight for scraps in a mature market when you can position yourself for exclusive growth in an emerging one? So, when you put it all together, what does this one little move really signal to the rest of the world? Well, it shows Apple is getting serious about deep financial integration way beyond its home turf. It confirms that India isn't just a side project anymore, it's absolutely central to their global strategy. And it proves, once again, that they are playing the long game, thinking 5, 10 years down the road. And the ultimate goal for all of this hard work? It's one thing: ecosystem lock-in. Because when your phone isn't just for calls and texts, but it's also your wallet, your credit card, and your main way to bank, the cost and the sheer hassle of switching to a competitor, well, it gets dramatically higher. And creating that seamless, sticky experience is where Apple has always been king. So, as we wrap this up, let's just reframe the whole thing. The initial simple question we started with, why is Apple partnering with banks? It's not really the most interesting question we could be asking. No. The real question, the much bigger question, is this: what does a famously meticulous, forward-thinking company like Apple see in India's future that maybe, just maybe, the rest of the market hasn't fully appreciated yet? And that is a fascinating thought to end on.